So I woke up this morning, and every Friday around 7 a.m., I get a picture of a scale, and it just brightens my day, or it has for the past 4 months. Um, and last week was the first week that you broke your streak and didn't lose weight but gained weight. So I was very, very excited to see what this week had in store for us. So 7 a.m. hit, nothing. 7:30, nothing. 8, nothing. 8:30. So I'm thinking by around 8:30, I'm thinking to myself, I may never see this guy again. Because normally that it's there waiting for me. And what's good news, it would certainly be there. It would be there bright and early before I wake up, for sure. Waiting for me to process, digest, get excited about. But there was nothing. So I was thinking the worst. I was thinking like it's over. Like I'm not going to hear from him the rest of the day. And this is it. That final episode. I'm going to show up by myself. And I'm going to just put a exclamation point at the end of this sentence and say, well, it was worth a try. But I reached out. I did the content because at 9:00 I was getting concerned. So I said, please tell me you didn't break the scale. Now, in hindsight, I wish that you did because you sent me the picture, and the picture was, well, could have been worse. Not much worse, but it's definitely not in the direction that we had been going for the past 4 months. It's certainly consistent with last week, except twice as consistent. So we ended up, when that scale showed up and I saw the weight and I saw the 332.5, which brought you back from the 320s to the 330s. And last week was 1.7 gained. This week was 4.6 gained. I can't wait to talk to this guy, because last week, if you remember when we talked, I noticed that you were off. You weren't as chipper as you usually were. Didn't have the big grin on your face. Obviously, you hadn't lost weight. That was something not to be happy about, but there was something more. There was something that I know went into that and kind of propelled you in the direction that you've been going now for 2 weeks. So I saw that last week. I felt that was a bad omen for this week, but I certainly wasn't going to let you know. I wanted to see what would end up happening as a result of what we saw last week. Is he going to kick it in high gear? Is he going to kick it in even higher gear, or is he going to kick it in reverse? So as we can see, we have our answer. So I need to get some insight from you as to what precipitated this, as far as behavior wise, as far as what went into this. Is it a surprise to you that the number is what it is? Is it something when you went in, I was hoping it wouldn't be that bad, but I knew it wasn't going to be good based on what happened this week? And what was the catalyst behind whatever it is that you did this week to result in back in the 330s again?
Yeah. I would say that the result was not shocking. However, it was disappointing. And, what I guess led to this, I've had the health challenge recently. The only thing I can think of that has tamed my enthusiasm for a lot of things right now. I still get through days where, I'm smiling and happy-go-lucky with people at work, be kind, and, I'm still a bunch of myself, but I'm not all of myself. And so that's probably, you and I talked a little bit about that. That's probably what's weighing on me a little bit still. And so after our conversation last week, I tried to focus on it for a little bit. I only had limited time where I could be me and think about stuff, or try to get past it. And then the the family, they had occasion to leave the house for a couple days, and it's so it was a long weekend. They were out of town for a good portion of it, which opened the door for
I know what
stupidity.
I remember the last time they
Yeah.
left for the weekend and what it opened the door for. You gave us a play-by-play, a fist-by-fist, action-packed review of what that was. So,
Yep.
was it a repeat?
Maybe not exact. I couldn't even recall specifically what you might be able to paint a clearer picture, but I'm sure it was on level with that.
It impressed me.
Yeah.
Let me just put it that way.
I'm certain it was on level with whatever that was, if not worse. And I almost thought to myself as I was doing it that I was like almost like there was an anger towards myself. So it's like, this is some deep psychological crap I'm dealing with, I guess. And I normally choose to block things out when they're negative and not really deal with them. And I think, talking more with you, that kind of made me think more about it, challenged me, and ultimately will lead to success because the more I think, I do more reflecting, talking to you than anything. And, this is my escape to just talk and focus on me, right now with you. So, I think that I need to focus on my mental well-being. And, I think that's a huge role in the behavior control. I do feel like, if we didn't make me conscious of things that were troubling to me, that's probably exactly how I've gotten to the point that I've gotten in a negative way, where I've, accrued so much weight over the course of all these years, is just not dealing with things and just pushing them to the side and just walking through life, not focused on taking care of myself, but almost, like I said, that emotion that I had during the weekend, it wasn't like I was, I guess I had a craving that needed to be tended to, but it wasn't like it was like an enjoyable time either. It was like almost like I was doing this out of anger with myself. It doesn't quite make sense to me, but that's the only closest thing I can come to explaining it. And if I almost like taking it out on myself, even though I definitely did not want the weight to go up, it was like, this was the best way I could characterize what it was or what it felt like. I didn't want the weight to go up, but I also felt primal need that I have been able to push away for all these months. And they weren't even, like you've seen my approach to all this. I've been totally confident and focused and diligent with everything and feeling great about it. And then it's kind of upsetting that I've gotten this far off course in such a short period of time, but I'm kind of determined to learn from it, what I need to learn from it, so that I can hopefully head this off quicker, moving forward. And so, getting back to the surprise factor, I knew it was not going to be a great weigh-in. I knew that. So I took a sneak peek of myself on a day ahead of time. And I was quite upset with what I saw there. It was actually a half pound worse than what I weighed in at today, 333 even. So that pushed me into a different gear yesterday. And so I was able to get through that whole day. No funny business. I did nothing wrong. I did all protein and nothing stupid for one day. And it only dropped me a half pound. I felt like I deserved more help than that coming to the weigh-in, but I was able to discipline myself for a day, which was start in the right direction. Even more discipline than I've had, most of the time. I've given myself a little bit more leniency than that on a regular daily basis. So I was able to be even more strict. So that felt like a good sense of, okay, I'm capable still of doing what I need to do for at least a period of time. And then I started my day today, much the same. But I got home with some hunger and have already done some damage today. So, with a couple candy bars. So, but I was like literally yesterday, I got through the day, no problem, nothing wrong at all. Perfect day as far as I'm concerned. So it's there in me. There's enough good habits lingering, and there's enough desire to head this off right now that this trend is not going to continue. But I also have to temper my expectations, I think, a little bit, and really aim to have a successful week being called staying even right now, not going the wrong way, I think is the next. It's what feels right to me before I talk to you about it. Maybe you have different opinions you can sell me on because you are fairly persuasive. But I don't know that setting myself up with high expectations is really the best recipe right now for me. I think that, I think that could be a little bit counterproductive. So I think I need to just at least keep it even. Don't go backwards this week as maybe a pivot point and then get locked back in. That's what my instincts are telling me, but I'm happy to get your input always.
Well, I think it's clear that the primary catalyst behind what we're seeing here is just a propensity to numb out with food. Um, the fact that you're going through a difficult time in life and it has brought you into a depressed state. The food makes you feel better while you're eating it for that temporary period while it's being consumed. And obviously, since that's very temporary, I mean, it only lasts as long as you're eating. You want to eat more of it because you want that feeling to last as long as possible. So it's not like when you take a drug, that drug does have an effect, an extended period. And I'm not encouraging anyone to do that. That would be the worst idea you could possibly take. And that's not a suitable replacement for what you're doing either. So
started thinking about it for a second.
But when you think, if anyone's done alcohol or drugs, you know that there's a sustained effect. You drink and you get drunk and then it lasts for a while. It's not like you need to keep drinking drink after drink after drink in order to sustain that feeling of intoxication for any length of time. With food, literally, it's when it's in your mouth, you swallow it, it's done. And you got to eat more. It's like you literally are only benefiting in terms emotionally from the food for as long as it's being consumed. So the temptation when it comes to food addiction is it's no one, as people who haven't experienced it have no idea how devastating it can be, because you end up finishing what amounts to 500 calories of carbs, consuming any kind of dessert that you can think of. And if you're not full, you will keep going. You will want to keep going. If you can get more, you will do so, especially when you're alone, you're in the environment that you described, family's away, you're by yourself. It's like, this is what's making me feel good. And I'm going to have as much as I can possibly have of this because I want it to last as long as it possibly can. Because when it's done, when I'm no longer consuming that food, when I'm no longer feeling intoxicated by the calories, by the fat, by the carbs, by the flavor, suddenly then I'm left thinking of what I've just done. I don't want to think about that either. I don't want my mind to gravitate towards, I just ate 1,000 calories that I didn't need. My weight's going in the wrong direction. And what's the count? Well, how do you counteract that? Well, I just eat more. Then I don't have to think about it.
You're
things
dead
just
on.
get worse and worse and worse. It perpetuates itself. So I think that's the main catalyst behind why it is that you're eating more now than you have been throughout the past 4 months. It's just that you're in an emotional state right now that's depressed as a result of the seizure and all the ramifications of that. And then all of a sudden that puts you in a mental state where I need to find a way to be able to escape that. And this is the easiest route. It's the route you've always used your entire life. It works every single time. So that's what I'm going to do. And there's nothing that's going to stand in my way from doing it, because I need to feel good. I need to feel better. Something needs to lift up my spirits. And this is what's doing it right about now. It's an easy fix. So right now it's medicating you. And just like you said, when you're consuming that food and then a period of lucidity hits, and suddenly you look at what you've done, you start getting angry. Yeah. It's like, what am I doing? Like, I don't really want to do this. Like, I don't certainly want the flip side of it. I don't want to gain the weight that results from my behavior. I certainly also don't want to give up what it is that it's accomplishing for me emotionally. It's allowing me to feel better in the moment, but I definitely don't want the flip side of that. So it almost feels like you're sabotaging yourself intentionally. Now, there are people who do that, out of a dislike, sort of, something happens in their life, they blame themselves for it on a subconscious level, and suddenly they do things to themselves that are self-destructive. They don't even realize they're doing it for that reason, but they're punishing themselves essentially for what it is that they did, because they're angry at themselves. They blame themselves for whatever it is that happened, and then they take that out on themselves by doing things that are harmful on a subconscious level, not something that you think through, but something that's happening on a deep level that you're not even aware of. In your case, I don't think it's so much that. There can be a part of that can play a role, but I think it's because you gain so much comfort from those types of foods that it's allowing you to escape what needs to be done in order to heal the wound of what happened in your life, which you need to focus on that. You need to heal that. You need to accept it, and you need to be able to grieve it and then start walking forward from that in order to be able to move away from all the numbing behaviors that you do to try and deal with it now. It's easier said than done, obviously, because as with anything that anyone's experiencing, the first instinct is to escape. Like, if I could get away from it, if I could just forget about it, I will instantly feel better. So everyone gravitates towards whatever it is that they do to feel better in times of stress. And it's going to be eating, it's going to be shopping, it's going to be gambling, it's going to be drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever. Whatever that person's addiction happens to be, coping mechanism for stress happens to be, that's what they're going to run to. And in your case, it's food. So that just becomes the easy fix. The hard fix, which is the one that most people try to escape for as long as possible, sometimes for the rest of their lives, unfortunately, is to deal with the reality that you've been dealt, and to legitimately grieve it to the point where all of the hostility that's inside of you, that anger, the sadness, the disappointment, all of that is felt, all of that is absorbed inside of you. You speak about it, because if you hold it in and you don't think about it and you don't speak about it, it starts to fester, and it leads you down this path of numbing, where you just want to get away from it. So anytime you start feeling depressed, which is just a sign that there's certain things that have not been dealt with that need to be addressed, you end up numbing more and more and more, and then it just starts to become a snowball effect where it just gets worse and worse and worse. So dealing with it is of paramount importance, but. And it is rather fresh still, because it didn't happen long ago. Time does help with that, but it's also being intentional and being able to, acknowledge the impact that it's had on you emotionally, to be able to speak about all the feelings that you have within you that haven't been addressed, and then to be able to not only speak about it, but then legitimately grieve it, feel the disappointment and the sadness and all of the grief associated with something like this, and allow the healing process to take place. If we lose a loved one, we go through a process of grieving in order to be able to truly move on. If we skip that process, we hang on to the pain. We take it with us, and usually then we try to numb it with all the behaviors that people use to do that. But if you end up instead addressing the situation head on, and dealing with that grief, and which involves tears, which involves anger, which involves all the emotions that are within you, dormant within you, which in a depressed state, they get pushed down, they get shoved down deep because you don't want to deal with them. And that's what depression is. You're depressing your emotions, you're pushing them down because you don't want to deal with them. And when you push something down long enough, it starts coming up in ugly ways. And usually the ways it comes up with more of coping mechanisms and numbing to try and feel better, because the depression doesn't feel good. So the alternative is I'm going to feel good doing the type of food that you eat or whatever it is the person has a difficulty with in terms of their own particular addiction. So yes, dealing with that is like the first line of defense is having to deal with that. Quite obviously, on the flip side, while you're dealing with it, you're still going to be tempted to eat the way that is inconsistent with the majority of this diet, because it does work. It makes you feel better. I mean, that's the only reason why you're doing it. You're certainly not doing it because you want to weigh 350. You're doing it because you want to feel better. It's all about trying to improve your mood in the easiest and quickest way possible. And it absolutely works. The people who are in this type of scenario, they have to ask themselves, and you have to ask them yourself as well, because you know what the food is doing for you. The food is an escape mechanism, and it's making you feel better in the moment. Is that something that, at this stage in your life, is it something that you're just going to try and do, as you were speaking just earlier about your goal is to try, let's just maintain our weight. Let's see if we can get through a week, which is good. I mean, it's definitely, you have to start somewhere, and you've got to get control of the weight gain before you can go in the other direction. And that's going to put a lot less pressure on you to be able to take it week by week. I mean, this is not a sprint. We're taking this step by step, week by week. So it's absolutely something that it's a valid approach that I fully endorse. We're not trying to snap our fingers and turn this around immediately, because in reality, we're trying to make it livable. And to make it livable, we got to be realistic with what it is that you're willing to do. But when it comes to the weight loss and the goal of weight loss and mitigating the eating addiction itself, how hardcore do you want to end up being when it comes to that? Because it's always going to rise up in difficult times. We all have difficult times at different moments in life, whether it's stress at work, stress at home, things like you experience just happen. And then that temptation is to go to that weak spot. In your case, the food. How imperative is it for you to gain control of that reflex, where that does not become a crutch for you, and you have to deal with the emotions that you're feeling in the moment that are propelling you to try and escape? Because this is certainly the easy way out, and it works, and it will continue to work. But there's the flip side, making you unhealthy. It's making you larger. It's inconsistent with the other goal that you have, but which I feel as if this goal, the goal that we're working towards together, it's certainly important to me, and there's an importance to you as well. I mean, you've done an incredible job for the past 4 months, and it's clear that you're serious about making this happen. But when you weigh the two, using food as a coping mechanism for difficult times in life versus trying to counteract that or overcome that in order to be able to sustain a lifestyle in terms of your diet that's going to be conducive towards the progress that you want to achieve, and maintaining a healthy weight, and not being able to veer off the course during times like this as the easy solution. How important is that to you? Or is it something where, when you look at a realistic game plan for you and how you live your life and how you want to live your life, you want the coping mechanism to be there? You want to be able to use that when necessary to be able to deal with stress and feel better, and you feel as if a life worth living to you allows that as a component of it. I mean, how is it that you feel about that when you think about the life that you want to establish for yourself?
Well, I'm against it. I don't, that's, I think, the more you talk there, it makes sense that I am not, the anger that I was associating was not like I'm literally trying to punish myself. I think the anger was linked in my mind just because with the activity of gorging is, on high calorie food was just like, I'm linking it because I was upset with myself while I was doing it. Like I'm literally, it's like the first time for a long time I've been feeling out of control. Like I know this is counterproductive, and I'm like conscious of the fact, and I'm still not stopping myself. And and some of the things you're talking about with the addiction and the coping with things that way, it's like, it sounds so, on the surface, sounds so simple, but it's like, it's, if you really don't think about the fact that like it's that easy to go off the rail, like, that like and the food is a unique addiction. The more I think about that compared to the other things, which are also no good, but like, it is unique probably because it's like over before, before long it's over. And that, I think that's what was making me upset, is like, I'm sitting here opening something else, opening something else, opening something else. Like, I already did damage. Why am I going back to do more? It was frustrating. So the frustration that I'm feeling after a weigh-in, the frustrating feeling I was feeling during the sessions of debauchery, like all this tells me that I'm more motivated, and for sure the long run, to continue the progress we're making. Like, I really feel great about it, and I've never been this upset because I don't think I've kept this level of consciousness about the direction I want to go for so long either. So I'm more, and that, again, that feeds itself to be more problem, right? Like more stress. I'm upset with myself, genuinely upset with myself. And that's not a place I live in very often. I'm pretty happy to keep you going, and to be upset and hold negative feeling within myself about me is not a place I like to stay very long, so thankfully that's not the majority of time, but I'm seeing the link between the years I've done damage and just, it doesn't mean that every day has been miserable. It just means that that's definitely not the case. It's just that there's been a prevalent enough amount of challenges that I have gone to this well to resolve, and I guess probably have not been focused enough on healing the way I need to. So you ask me which direction I want to go in. I'm still mentally focused to go the right direction. I want to lose this weight. I'm motivated by the fact that I've made a lot of progress, and this is a couple setbacks, but I want the feeling that I get from making progress more than I want the feeling of misery I have after doing something stupid to myself. Ultimately, if you give me the choice, I'm ready. I'm mentally ready to say I want to do better. And so, yesterday I was proud that I was able to get it back on track for one day. That told me something good. I had the ability, the wherewithal to lock in for that one day. That was something. It didn't do enough for my taste. I wish I would have seen more progress in that day, and had a little less embarrassment when I sent you the scale picture. But I'm determined to learn from all this. I think every time we talk, I learn something, and this stuff I need to figure out what I need to figure out from this. and grow from it. It needs to make me better. So I think that's probably one of the big things I need to take away is I have to figure out how I'm going to handle the things that inevitably come up without it being this as my resolution. This has got to not be that. Do I want to have fun and pig out sometimes? Because I want to, probably. I don't think that's ever going to change. But, just like the holidays where I maintained a level of, decency, I still had fun. That was enjoyable. That was the way I'm certain it's supposed to be. And that's the way I'm sure that people who are healthy do life. And this is just like an old bad habit that just comes back if I don't check it. So I'm all the way open-minded to figuring this out and stopping the bleeding and getting moving in the right direction before I counteract a large percentage of the greatness that has happened over the last few months. But I'm not going to be okay with that. So that's not going to be an option.
Well, let me ask you this. When I know that candy bars are a major part of your life, I think we made that abundantly clear over the past several months. So, Snickers to be exact. So, let's just say, based on the numbers that you gave me, you were attempting to try and limit it to one a day. It had ended up growing to two a day this past the prior week. So that's two candy bars a day. So that would be a high figure. So let's use that just to use an exaggerated number. So two a day. How long does it take to eat two Snickers bars?
I try to extend that out as long as I can.
Like,
But
what would you
what
give
I
an
observe,
average? Give me a.
oh no, but if I observe, when I observe what I've been doing,
Uh-huh.
it's like one bite leads to the next, leads to the next.
Uh-huh. Right.
So
Right. Right.
like it's like I told you a couple weeks ago, like I'll go in with the intention of just having one, but if the other one's in my drawer, it gets gone, and that's where we started with the strategy of just take one to the office every day, right? And
Mhm.
that type of strategy is, I'm certain, a positive strategy for me, limiting
Yeah.
what's available easily, limiting that, something that is like I know is not going to cause harm. That's what is like a necessity, because if I don't, then one leads to another, leads to whatever, and like it becomes, I don't know, I don't even think I have to be under stress at that time. It's just, I don't know if it's a habit, I don't know what it is, or if it's addicting properties of the food or what the deal is, but like it's like I'll just do until it's gone, and so that's something I have to take control of, and I can take control of. I can limit the amount I take. That's great, but yeah, the damage that was done over the course of this week is, it was just not satisfying, like I'm not happy about it. I'm sitting here bummed out that it happened, that my number gone up, and like I really didn't enjoy. It was just a numbing or something, it was a numbing like mechanism, and that's not making progress towards my goal. I was on top of the world. I mean, this is something I would want anybody to know. I'm not even close to the weight that's ideal for me, but the momentum was an addiction of itself, like
Yeah.
in a great way. Like I felt so positive while I was losing weight, even if I'm dropping a pound a week, to lose 20 plus pounds is like, that's got me on fire, man, in a great way. Like keeps me motivated to go back and do more and just have another great week like this, right? Over and over again. And so this is like the opposite, the exact opposite. And there's one way that makes me happy, and then there's one way that does not make me happy. So I need to go back to what makes me happy, man. As simple as that. I got to figure out how I go through the process of grieving and dealing with feelings or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to deal with these things the way I got to figure that out, how I do that with, so that I know that I'm ready to lock back in, you know, like, I don't feel like I'm there right now, you know, and that's probably why I'm asking for a little, you know, to put less pressure on myself when it comes to results next week. But I do, like, my standard has got to be better than what this last week was, you know, and it's got to be better than the week before. But I just don't want to put pressure on, you know, an outcome of a lost amount of weight, because I think that could push you know, my stress threshold higher than it needs to be at the moment. So it seems like it's a realistic shot to just maintain. Don't make it worse. Do not make it worse. And so, you know, I think that will help me, like, feel the control that I needed to feel and that I've been thriving on. I think that will help me get started back into that routine.
You were saying about the what it is in the food and the candy bars and the food that you gravitate towards that have some sort of addictive property. Yes, it definitely does. The flavor and the sugar, very, very, very addictive. So I look at what works for other addictions. So we know full well that an alcoholic who uses alcohol to numb, in order for them to no longer be an alcoholic and no longer use alcohol to numb, they can't limit themselves to one or two drinks, because what will happen is if they're consuming one or two drinks during good days, because good days maybe not so difficult, during the bad days, since the alcohol is there and it's part of their lifestyle, they will just binge, and it just get completely out of control. The moment something goes south in their life, the alcohol then takes over, because it's part of their life. It's part of their normal routine. And they're able to control it when things are great. Some of them, and even hardcore alcoholics, every day would be a struggle. If they tried to keep alcohol as part of their daily life, it would just be insurmountable. They wouldn't be able to achieve that goal. Others can moderate it at certain times, other times impossible. So they really want to remove that as a coping mechanism. They stop. They stop drinking. Drug addicts, same thing. Use a drug. Try to use a little bit of a drug every day. It's not going to work. You're inevitably going to ramp up because you want to feel better. And if a little works at a certain level, a lot works a lot better. So you just end up right back where you were before, and then some. So getting off them completely is the only thing that works. Obviously, food addiction's a bit different. You don't need to completely eliminate foods from your diet forever. But what I want to know from you is, you have the candy bar. It takes you very short amount of time to eat that Snickers bar. You bring one with you. You don't have any more. You have just that one. You eat that Snickers bar. Then what? Like, at that point in time when you have that Snickers bar, do you want to continue to have the option of having that as part of the diet? Because I just enjoy that Snickers bar so much that sliver of time within the day that I get to have that is just, it doesn't compare to anything else. And I just need to look forward to that. I need to have that to look forward to get me through the first part of my day. Or is it, I don't want to give up something that has been part of my life for so long. Like, I want to be able to keep certain things in my diet that I like, just because I feel as if I'm controlling my diet in that way. In other words, I'm the arbiter of determining what goes into my diet, what doesn't go into my diet. And if I gave up candy bars, it would feel like I'm giving up control in some way. Like, it's some of the control that I like to exhibit over my life is being relinquished as a result of having to, quote, give this up push it away? Or is it something that you derive so much pleasure from looking forward to, and then during the moment that you're eating it, that you couldn't conceive not having that as part of your day, that if you eliminated that, you feel as if mentally that you would be at a level that it would be difficult for you to cope with things you normally have to do throughout the day?
That's a great question. I mean, there's probably elements of both, to be honest with you. Um, you know, I feel like it's more of the latter where I really look forward to it, and then like when it's over, it's almost like a disappointment that it's gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like I'll go in and, I told you like the 1 and 2 bars, right? It's like 2 bars and 1. So I'll go into it thinking, let's just have 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon, and then I get to keep that second half for the afternoon. And that might have happened a few times, but more often than not, I end up taking the second one right after the first one. And it's like, that is not, I know now how unhealthy, but I'm not savoring, like we had talked about before. I'm not enjoying just for the sake of enjoying it. I'm literally just feeding a stupid habit. And, if you ask me in a rational state of mind, like, do I need this? Do I really need this? The answer should be no. You know what I'm saying? Like, I should be able to tell you, like, I can live my life without a damn candy bar, right? Like, that should be the easiest answer ever. And if I hear that and I feel it even, yesterday I did it. Like, I really challenged myself to do it, and it happened. I did go into it knowing like, okay, this is like, there's something I can, I can turn it on for a short period of time. I can do crazy things, right? You've seen evidence of that. So like, I can go into a Thursday all day knowing the Friday weigh-in coming. That's motivational. And like, I can suck it up for a day. I can go 0 carbs, like lockdown. I can drop it for a day. I don't need it. Right. And then, Saturday, Sunday rolls around and I'm 4 or 5 days out when I weigh in. I'm like, let's live life a little bit. And, obviously that can do a lot of damage, and it did. I don't think that, I definitely don't want to use it the way I used it this week. I'd love in a perfect world to just enjoy it when the time is appropriate, and like I go back. I think the holidays served a good purpose because I was able to balance it out, right? And it wasn't out of control. I made wise decisions and enjoyed myself thoroughly. And like, it was all under some control, I don't want to use control as a bad word. I want to use it as a good word. Like, I had managed my situation very well and didn't feel like I missed out on anything at that special time of year. So, if I translate that to the regular rest of the year, there's going to always be some special occasion that comes up, right? You're going to go to somebody's birthday party, or there's going to be a special dinner you're invited to, or whatever it is. There's always going to be something. And you're going to work. I don't need to celebrate going to work every day and have a Snickers bar, probably. I need to not indulge on a regular level like that. And I'm just thinking out loud and talking out loud doesn't mean it's all set into my heart yet. I'm just telling you, I know.
Right. Oh no, I know that. I know that.
Cognitively, I understand right now more than I ever have that, like, that really, like you say, the alcoholic doesn't need to touch another drop, right? I'm probably.
What will happen?
Yeah, go ahead.
What will happen? You said it. You said it yourself, and that was the follow-up. You said it. You said it before I said it, which was, I had that candy bar, and then I'm like, It's over. Like I want another one. And what ends up happening is when something is being used to cope with life, when it's when I'm leaning on that to make me feel better because of the circumstances that I'm in, a coping mechanism, I will want that to never end. So the alcohol that has the one drink that's an alcoholic will not, once they have that drink, feel like I'm great. Like that's it. That's all I need. No, they will feel a strong, unbelievable yearning to have more. Yeah. I mean, that wouldn't be there if they had none. It wouldn't be at that level if they had none. But because they had some, they got a taste of what it's like. And they're like, I felt what it was like for that to take over for
Unreal
that moment. So I wanted more of it. I want more of it. So the one drink leads to two, leads to three, leads to a whole bottle. And the same with drugs and the same with anything, with gambling, same deal. It just, it has a life of its own once you let it in. Once it's there, the reason why I avoid having special types of meals outside of special occasions, which when we get together, it's a special occasion too. And it's not only because I know what makes you happy. It makes me happy too. When we have special occasions, Christmas, New Year's, birthdays, I'm ready to, I'll have my meal. I'll have a great time. I'll have fun doing it. That's a celebration. So that's the term you use, celebration. And you said, when I go to work, I don't really need to celebrate. You're not. Like when you go to work and you eat the candy bar, you're not celebrating, you're coping. There's a huge difference between the two. If I have celebration food with my friends or with my family, we're celebrating together. We're having a great time. It's just part of the festivities. It's just part of the moment that we're all enjoying together as a group. When you're eating by yourself at work, a candy bar, you're not celebrating anything. You're not celebrating with anyone. You're trying to cope with the circumstances that surround you. So it's using it in a totally different way. This is the reason why I, on a regular basis, have my diet that I follow on a day-to-day basis. And then on the special occasions, I do whatever I'm surrounded by, I take part in that. And I don't feel guilty over it because I know the majority of the time I'm eating in a productive way. So the times when I'm ready to celebrate, I celebrate, but I don't use the food for coping. Now, there is an example of a scenario that I've created for myself on many occasions, which is my addiction of choice when it comes to calories, which is if I happen to get extremely thirsty, all right, if my thirst supersedes hunger, trust me, you wouldn't believe this. I don't know if you've ever gotten thirsty enough for this to happen because you'll grab the drink maybe the moment it hits. But for me, that allows thirst to hit a level of unsustainability. I totally forget about food. Like food, you could put chocolate cream pie, anything you could think of, a stack of whoopie pies, Twinkies, everything that I could possibly I feel as if it's something that's comfort food for me that I could really take part in and enjoy. And I wouldn't even give it a second thought when that thirst has taken over. And that thirst is number one on the list because, you can go a long time without food, but without water, you'll die a heck of a lot sooner. So the body naturally, when you're thirsty, that's the number one priority. So the thirst hits. And all of a sudden I found it was my worst enemy. It was my worst enemy and my best friend all rolled into one, was the Italian ice. Because the Italian ice, okay, which come in many flavors, you take this Italian ice when your thirst is at an apex and you have the Italian ice, and every single bite of the Italian ice has a unique flavor: watermelon, peach, cherry, orange, whatever it may be. Yes, there are many. There are many to choose from. Trust me, I know each and every one, by the way, by name. They're all my close, personal, longtime friends, each and every one of them. So you take these Italian ices, you have a scoop, you take a spoonful, and it's like, oh my gosh, you feel like your thirst is being quenched for like a second, and then it comes back. So then you take another bite, your thirst is quenched and then it comes back. And you get the flavor of the high fructose corn syrup, all the variety of flavors that you could possibly have. So if you're getting my drift when it comes to this, the thirst goes away and comes back, which means it never goes away. Okay.
Yeah.
Never goes away. So what does that mean? That means an Italian ice, you get a cup of an Italian ice, right? Most normal human beings would probably stop there. 2, maybe 2. I'll give them 2. How about 10?
Oh my
How
God.
about 14? I think my record is 14 or 15. Okay. In one sitting.
Amazing.
Italian
I
ices.
can't imagine
all
you
sugar,
behaving.
all high fruit.
I can't imagine
I
that
could keep
being your
going
behavior.
after that. Think about me putting a stop to it at 15, but wanting to start over again. Okay. That's what happens when you use food for comfort. Like I'm taking something like a just a primal instinct to drink something because I'm thirsty. And what are my choices? My choices is I could grab some water and I could quench the thirst and I would forget about the Italian ice. And believe me, I don't even think about Italian ices in the presence of if it's not in the presence of thirst. Like if thirst isn't there, there's Italian ices. I never give them a second thought. But when I'm thirsty, that's the first thing I think of because I've conditioned myself after having them. And I wouldn't do this by myself. I'd do it with my brother. We do it like on a Sunday night. If it's a night we have a special meal and happens to have a lot of salt and I get really thirsty. And then once the thirst hits me, forget about it. At that point in time, my mind is fixated on the Italian ice. And then because I don't eat this way all the time, I can get away with having some Italian ices. 15 was not a normal occurrence. I've hit the 15 number a couple times. Usually I stop at 10, but I've been trying to mitigate it at 5. Just so I don't have some sort of glucose poisoning in the middle of one of those Italian ices. I don't need to be taken to the hospital and have to explain why it is that they're having to admit me. So I figure I try to cap it off, but it's not easy because it's very simple to just keep going on and on and on and on and on because the thirst is still there. So why should I stop? So there's an example of taking something that is very enjoyable in the presence of thirst. And I'm pretty much hit. If this were happening to me every day, which it doesn't because I drink plenty of water. I'm not, most of the time, I'm not thirsty. If this were happening to me every day, I would have to think to myself, do I want to eat 15 Italian ices a day? Yes, in the presence of thirst. But should I? No. So maybe what I should do instead of the 15 Italian ices is somehow quench my thirst in a different way. When I feel the thirst, like I have a choice at that point. I can go for the Italian ices and just have the perpetual one after the other, which the satisfaction we were talking about earlier with the candy bar, you have the one candy bar and it's like, I want another one. Like, why do I just ate this. So it was just lasted such a short period. I want to just continue this for as long as I can. Well, it's the same with the Italian ices. The thirst is there. It's like, I had one, I want 2, 3, 4, 10. Because it's fun and doesn't get old. As long as the thirst is there, if nothing's stopping me from wanting them, I just keep going. Other than my own free will saying this is probably not a good idea. If I had this happening to me every day, I'd be like, I got to satisfy this thirst somehow, some other way. I got to drink the water, get rid of the thirst, and I won't have the cravings for the Italian ice, and I'll be fine. So I just have to make a conscious effort to go in that direction. This doesn't happen often enough that it really is a bother at all. But if this was something I was dealing with that was truly addictive on a day-to-day basis, I would have to find some sort of alternative to satisfy the craving, so that way I can move away from that habit, which my brain has now solidified as something that the moment thirst hits, that's what I think of immediately. And it's the same way when it comes to candy bars. You have a certain, and I want to get into this with you about how you feel internally, and when it is you consume that candy bar. Like, certainly, the candy bar doesn't quench your hunger. Like, your hunger is not gone, but I don't even know if any hunger's there. Or how much hunger is there? Is hunger the motivating factor? Like when you get hungry, I think of the candy bar. Or is it I think of the candy bar because it tastes good and I want to feel good, and hunger is just something that could encourage me to eat more of them? Or is it a catalyst behind it? Or is it a combination of both?
Yeah, combination. I mean, the when I'm hungry, that will come to mind. Like if I allow myself to go a long period of time without eating and I become hungry, then that definitely opens the door to the mind of going there. Like I want this. This is gonna make me happy right now, right? Like that's what I want to throw in my body to just like attack the hunger. But
Yeah.
realistically, it's like it's all day. It's that coping thing, man. Like it's
Yeah.
laying there, so it's gonna be gone because it that I'm
Yeah.
gonna feel better with it than without it. It sounds so
Yep.
stupid and immature, but like
No, it's
it,
reality, man.
yeah, it is. It is like it's right there, and I'm gonna be better off with that thing. You know, I'm me eating that thing right now than I am right now. So, um, that is probably right now. That's probably the more often cause of it than the real hunger. I will say this, like what I toyed with yesterday and today when I was really trying to, undo any damage I could for the week,
Mm-hmm.
I really intentionally went heavy on the protein focus for 2 meals in the morning and then midday. And like it did curb appetite and that was helpful. That is helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like I didn't feel hunger to be like when I didn't have the candy bar at my disposal yesterday. I wasn't like, as long as I kept my hunger at bay, it helped a lot to not feel like I was missing something. If that makes sense. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
good.
Oh yeah.
My belly was full, so I wasn't feeling like I needed anything that way. So I was okay without the candy bar that day, and I mentally knew going in like just got to not have it today. So I didn't take
Mm-hmm.
one, and I filled up on protein like more intentionally than I had in a long time, and I made it through the day. I come home, I have my low sugar, no sugar dessert. At night, that's been a ritual during this whole time that has been working. So, if I can tie myself over to that today, yesterday I stopped at the Arby's, got a roast beef sandwich and did the no bread thing on the way home to have my dinner
Mm-hmm.
because I needed something still to get me through the night, of hunger, that had to be addressed.
Yeah.
But that I was okay without doing a sweet then, and today, there's been a lot of extenuating circumstances. My vehicle's getting worked on this weekend, so I'm not driving myself. So
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't go address the hunger this afternoon, for instance. So I resorted to junk that's in the house and like in my
Yep.
hunger state. So it does play a role. The hunger does play a role. And it seems like what I've observed the last couple of days, it's a significant role. If I can keep that at bay, that will help me a whole lot and not feeling the need to address it with junk. But that being
Yeah.
said, it's still a factor when that stuff's around, like,
Yeah.
if there's probably doesn't even require to be a whole lot of stress. It's just there. That's
Yep.
probably enough to cause me a trouble. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think my challenge for myself this week is to not have any candy bars during the day. And
Mm.
Like,
Oh
I
my
think that
God.
has to be a big challenge. It's going to be a big challenge.
That is
But
a
I
big
think
challenge.
I have to do my best to do that. And maybe that
Ooh.
if I can get there and actually make that work, I mean, I probably will actually speed up the process of reaching my goals anyway, right? So maybe this all
For
is
sure. Yeah.
for the better. Maybe it's all for the better at the end of the nonsense. Maybe
Yeah.
it's better faster because we went through the nonsense. But I kind of want it to be that way. I want to grow from this. I really do. I want it to get better. I want every week to be some form of constant improvement. And these physical steps back can possibly turn into a mental step forward.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Wow. I was thinking what you suggested, but I didn't have the guts to say it because I figured in your fragile emotional state, that
Yeah.
would be the last thing you would want to hear
Well,
from me.
you know
Is
how I work.
I
I
was
mean,
I
I
was
probably needed to come
I
to
was
that
you know,
myself.
yeah.
You
You
did
do.
good.
It's
You
great if
got
you
me
make
here,
the
man. You got
suggestion.
me
I'm all
here.
for it.
I'll
I
give you credit. You
I
got me there.
you know, the Italian ice, it's the same. Listen, it's the exact same scenario with the Italian ice. I I couldn't live on just one. It would make me want more and more and more. And if if I take care of the thirst some other way, I won't want any. And when it comes to the candy bars, a little more complex. You would almost have to be full not to ever want any. But if you load up on foods that satisfy your hunger, that are productive for what you're trying to achieve, and those foods are protein and fat, protein and fat, protein and fat all day long. You can eat as much as you want of that, as much as you want of that. I don't care how much you eat, it doesn't make a difference. You eat as much protein and fat as you want, as long as you're not gorging on the carbs, because that will fill you up. The protein and fat will fill you up and will allow you to maintain a satiated state for an extended period. Carbs, on the other hand, are like the Italian ice when it comes to hunger. Not quite as fast acting. The Italian ice is about 2 seconds max, and the thirst is back. When it comes to carbs, even if you fulfill the hunger, it's very temporary. It will come back quickly. It won't take very long for you to want some more. And generally speaking, it takes a lot. It would take a lot of carbs to even be able to get you to the point where hunger would be a factor that would cause you to push away from having anything more when it comes to that. So protein and fat, though, very satisfying when it comes to hunger. It has the ability of satisfying your hunger on a level and not allowing the hunger to return quickly, unlike carbs. So carbs, it's a 1-2 punch on the carbs. Number one, it's a negative towards weight loss, but number two, it actually increases the amount that you want to eat. Like your body is asking for more sugar. Once it digests the sugar you give it, it wants more. That's why sugar in and of itself is addictive. The sugar causes an insulin spike in the body. Insulin causes the blood sugar to be stored in either fat cells, muscle cells, cells in general. And then after that, it wants more sugar. So your hunger's back. So suddenly, half hour later, an hour later, it's like, I want to eat more. Like my hunger's, I can feel it. And you just naturally, you start thinking about the sugar because your body, having just digested the sugar, wants more sugar. But when the sugar's eliminated, when it's not part of the normal diet routine, your cravings change. So you no longer have that desire for that candy bar the way you did before. The desire to have that is going to be at a level, if you are consuming a protein and fat based diet, the desire for that sugar would drop to a level where it would be sustainable. In other words, when you have a desire to have the candy bar, it would not be insurmountable for you to just say no. To just say no. I'm going to just have more of the foods that I've brought with me, or the foods that I plan to have. I don't have to have the candy bar. The candy bar doesn't seem like I need that candy bar. Whereas when the candy bar is part of the diet and you know that it's there and you know you can have it, the moment you have it, your cravings kick in and you want more.
Yeah.
And you want more and more and more because you've already automatically stoke the flame of the addiction, of the sugar addiction. And automatically, once you're having it, your body's just asking for it to continue. And then if you back off and you're like, there's no more, you still want more. And maybe later in the day, the cravings get really bad because you ended up having it earlier and the body's really trying to encourage you to continue this however it can. And then you get these bad cravings and it just makes it difficult to even concentrate. So, as much as you can do a protein and fat diet, as much as possible, it's going to help to reduce the cravings. It's going to help to keep you full, and it's going to help you lose weight fast. The diet that you've been doing has been, we're trying to have protein and fat. We're trying to make that the basis for as many meals as possible, but I want to allow the foods that I enjoy, the ones that we were talking about, the candy bars, whatever it may be, loose weekends. I want to allow those foods as part of the diet, and I want to see what I can do with that. So you wanted to allow the foods that are addictive and compel you to want to eat more calories and cause those temptations that you struggle with. We want to keep those as part of the diet, and we'll just balance out the rest of it with the protein and fat and see if we can make it work by combining the two. That's what we've been doing. And obviously you had a great job the past 4 months with that. But what happens is you get into a difficult time emotionally, like you're dealing with now. And those foods, the candy bars specifically, part of that diet, all of a sudden the temptation is insurmountable because they're there, you're eating them. And all of a sudden, then the body is just asking for more because it feels like it needs more to be able to just make you feel the way you want to feel because you're just having a little bit of it. But if a little bit's working, we can have just more and then make things even better than they are now. And then that temptation, it pushes you down that road. So the best approach is to limit it as much as you possibly can. This week is going to be a great experiment because you made the suggestion that you're going to try not having them at all. And I say replace it. Try to think of ways that you can consume as much protein, meat, and fat as you can in a way that you find enjoyable, that would satisfy the majority of your meals. So that way you can quell that hunger, keep that hunger controlled. And I think by doing that, your total biological process begins to change, and the cravings for those foods that you were having on a consistent basis, that you wanted to integrate as part of the diet, they will start to diminish, which is hard. It's hard to even suggest that's possible when you're in the midst of it. But the body has an incredible ability to adapt. But when it's given a mixed diet on a daily basis, and it still has the carbs in enough of a level that it can feed the addiction, you can't break away from it under those circumstances. You can control it during better times. You can say, I'm only having one and I can get away with it. But during bad times, the temptation is so strong to have just more of it, and trying to look for times and places where you can get away with eating more than you otherwise would of the foods that you shouldn't be eating a large quantity of. So this is going to be a great experiment this week. Just that alone, just the candy bar, the daily candy bar, and trying to while you're at work, really control what it is that you're consuming and keep it low carb, high protein, high fat. That will do wonders if it's something that you'll implement during that period, and it would still allow you the lax weekend. And coming off of that, you would just be tightening things up to the point where you could get everything moving back in the right direction.
That just seems all the way consistent with what the philosophy of having those types of treat as more of a infrequent but celebratory way, treating it that way.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
just being more focused. That mentality I've had somewhat, staying focused on the weekdays and when I'm at work. And this was a weird week. You had different schedule with day off and we had some poor weather here, so work schedule was affected, and then family's away. I had a lot of things that led me to have an easier time being off task.
Mm-hmm.
But with a regular work week, 5 out of 7 days going to work, those 5 days need to be focused all the way, and then let's see what that does. And I think I was able to do it yesterday.
That's awesome.
I got through the day today until the end of the day. I got through it with it was a no hitter. I did fine. I did without the candy bar. I made it. So it's definitely in the wheelhouse. I just got it. I got to go through that and see what happens.
I just know from my own personal experience, backtracking to the Italian ice story, I know full well that if that thirst is there and I have that first Italian ice, it's just, I have to go in knowing I'm going to have 10. Okay. I can't, or at least 5. I don't go in having 1.
Yeah.
If I'm going to have 1, I'm just having the water and just getting rid of I don't even want to. It's straight. It's I know it's absolutely bizarre, but this is what happens. It becomes irrational when you start using it just for the sake of pleasure alone in a vacuum. It literally becomes something that if you start thinking about what it is that you want, you don't want it to end. You definitely don't want it to end. So with me, I'm like, yeah, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go all out and I'm going to have a great time doing it. I'm not just going to have 1 and then call it a day and be like, was that? And I'll think back, I'll be like, it wasn't even worth having 1. But yes, after I've had 10, I don't really think back much. I just chalk it up as, it doesn't happen all the time. No big deal. So that's what happens when it's a special occasion. I could never get away with it on a regular basis, which is why I don't do it. I know full well that I would be thinking of ways to try and eliminate that, because I just know that what it's going to happen if it becomes a part of my regular lifestyle, what it's going to lead to. And I try to focus on what's the consequences of doing this on a daily basis. And I can't have that. So I have to find a way around it. And so you find methods to try and eliminate that in whatever way possible. In your case, the candy bars have proven over the past 4 months, under a lower stress environment, you can deal with that. Stress goes up, they become a problem. So when they're there and you have the ability to consume them and consume a large quantity of them, or even if you don't and you try and control it, but yet the stress is there, the temptation is going to be very strong to try and continue that behavior somehow. And do you really want to have to suffer with those feelings and desires and have to try and counteract those, when if you take a different approach, which is what you're going to try this week, and not have that as part of the equation, and really control your hunger with effective ways, with fat and protein at the right levels to be able to make yourself full, so that way you don't at least have that working against you. You don't have the hunger trying to perpetuate you towards eating the wrong kinds of foods, because that's what's going to come to mind. Just like with thirst, with me, it's an Italian ice. With hunger, with you, it's going to be a candy bar. You have to try and control the hunger in different ways. And the fat and protein will work wonders in doing that. You just have to plan for it, where you're going to get it. Of course, you can go restaurants and grab anything. I mean, you get meat, steaks, the roast beef from Arby's and just eat the beef. Go to fast food place and get the burgers, just eat the burger. And I love burgers, so I could just do that all the time. It would just be something that I think the experiment with you specifically with the food addiction, the addiction to carbs and the addiction to sugar, getting it under control by not having that as part of your the workday period, which is that 5 day a week, Monday through Friday. It could do wonders, man. That alone, the strictness of that and the looseness on the weekends could be something that would work very, very well at getting you a good amount of weight loss. A very, very motivational result that could come out of that if this comes to fruition. And so I'm so happy that you're ready to give it a shot.
Yeah, I think the last couple of days were a big step in the right direction. It didn't give me the outcome that I was dreaming of. I was hoping to reverse, half the damage through 1 or 2 days of good hard work. But I do think that talking this out with you has been a tremendous help, and I do feel like I'm in a better place literally now than I was even coming on here when it comes to a focus on what I need to do this coming week.
That's awesome, man. All right, brother. This is it started. I didn't know when we started off. I didn't know where we were going to end up, but if I could have written it from start to finish, this is exactly the way I would want it to go. So I thank you, one, for not making my worst nightmare come true and not showing up. The fact that you're here, and the fact that we talked, and the fact that you're ready to move forward. To me, that's our best episode yet, man.
All right. There's no way I'm going to give up.
It's got me excited.
Yeah. With you in my corner, man, you're with me.
I'm with you, brother.
Yeah. I need you, and I acknowledge that, and your support is tremendous. And I'm again, sharing it with you means a lot to me. So I'm motivated on a different level than I've been before. So any setback is temporary, the way I look at it. And, I just refuse to give up. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to lay down and play dead. I'm not going to let it get worse, man. We're going to keep on going in the right direction. The prevailing direction is going down with that weight.
I love you, brother.
Love you
those
too.
Are music. That's music to my ears, what you just said. And I'm just so proud of you for everything that you've done this entire time, and for the fact that you're through this couple weeks setback period, that you're picking up the pieces. We're doing it together, and we're going to keep moving forward as a team. And I look forward to seeing what the next several weeks brings. And we're gonna be doing it together. So you'll get to that finish line, man. I'm certain of it. I can just feel the desire in your soul to be able to counter everything that you've experienced recently and throughout your life as a result of this journey. So I'm excited for the future, man.
Thank you.
And just thank you for being you.
Thanks for being with me all the time, dude. Love you too.
Always, man. See you next week.
All right.
I know at least one of us wants to be here today.
Yeah.
But no more than one.
It's helpful to know that you actually have the same human potential to screw up like I do with your Italian ice.